Let us hope, dear friends, let us hope that this is working. I'm not even going to believe for a moment that I'm even being recorded after today's horror show early this morning. Can you hear me, ladies and gentlemen? Can you hear me? Before I begin, can you hear me? Before I begin, can you hear me? Is it important? Can you hear me? Give me the first 5 by 5. I'm waiting. Very good. Yes. I received word from the StreamYard folks that they apologized. It was for some thing that they had going on this morning. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. What a show tonight. Oh my God. Let me remind you a couple of things first. Tomorrow we're going to start at 9. It's our new time. Unless something comes up, we're going to give 9 o'clock a shot. Today was there was a different vivacity. And perhaps it might be because of this thing called the time. I don't know. We're going to be talking about that. Make sure you are subscribed to Lionel Nation. Make sure you are also subscribed to the newsletter, the Quotidian Quodlibet, which is a newsletter and an email, comes out 3 times whenever I feel like we're up to it. Wait until this evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are going to absolutely, we are getting into, oh my God, we are getting into a level of focus that I never thought even possible. So get ready, sit back, put on your goggles or whatever the hell you want to call it, because let me tell you something. It is the most important moment this evening. But first, dear friends, this word from our sponsor. We've been told our whole lives that wrinkle creams were the easiest way to look younger. Now, one doctor says that's nothing but old news. According to Dr. John Lakey, the world-renowned Beverly Hills beauty expert, most wrinkle fixes on the market are nothing but glorified moisturizers. He says they hardly make a dent on your appearance, and some can even be harmful to your skin. Now, recently, Dr. Lakey has focused his attention away from mainstream cosmetic practices. Why? So he can pursue a revolutionary anti-aging breakthrough, one that some experts say could empty the wallets of the cosmetic industry. He says it's almost like Photoshop for your face. You may even be mad after seeing how easy it is to visibly erase your wrinkles from view. His personal clients have dubbed his new do-it-yourself technique the age rewinder method, because it can take years or even decades off your appearance in under 2 minutes. In light of this amazing breakthrough, Dr. Lakey has released a step-by-step video to the public, free and uninterrupted, where he outlines exactly how to use this simple solution from home. He says if this helps even one person look younger or feel more confident, I'll be thrilled knowing it helped. Now, the video has since gone viral. At first, it was shared by users on Facebook, but since then, it's racked up over 2,300,000 views and counting. So far, the comments and feedback have been outstanding, with thousands of women reporting they look decades younger. One viewer even commented, quote, "Best results of anything I've used. I can't believe how well this works. I've never stopped using this. I don't understand how it works, but the results are great. Thank you." Now, so you can find out more about this yourself right now. Go to bhmd1.com/Lionel or click on the link in the description below. That's bhmd1.com/Lionel. Now, there is one thing Dr. Lakey asks from his viewers. If watching this video helps you look and feel younger than you have in years, then please, he says, share this video with your friends and loved ones. Together, we have the power to help as many women reclaim a youthful look as possible. Go watch the video at bhmd1.com/Lionel right now, or just click on the link in the description box below. All right, my friends, I don't even know where to start, so I'm going to start at the beginning in no particular order. There is something so fascinating that is going on regarding the Mangione case, and it's fascinating because it takes a very unique perspective like yourself to figure it out. What do I mean? What am I getting at? What am I talking about? Well, as you know, what makes us different is the way we think about things. We ask questions. I ask questions. We ask questions. And what may not seem important or critical or upfront to most people, we jump on it right away. And we have always talked about MK Ultra from the very beginning. Have you noticed that? We have talked about MK Ultra. It's something that to us has been it's our middle name. It's our initials. MK Ultra. And of course stands for mind control. It was declassified. We know it to be true. It's not some crazy thing that people are imagining or making up. But we've known about this because we're demented. All of us are demented. And it's wonderful. And it's a terrific story. And I love it. And what's so interesting more than anything else is how we have been able, more importantly, how we have been able to figure out things that nobody else knows. And I want you to listen to something. This young man did something which is so interesting. This young man fancied or came up with this particular piece, and I have been awash with so much stuff. I know what you want to talk about. You want to talk about Kimberly Guilfoyle and Don Jr. breaking up. I know, but I don't want to get to that right away. You're thinking, wait a minute, how did that happen? How's she going to take this? Well, not very well, apparently. But either way, Trump gave her the ambassadorship to Greece. I shite you not. But in any event, that's not what we're talking about. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about this thing called MK Ultra and how we have been a part of this since the beginning. And let's go back and let's listen to this particular postulate from this young man who I think absolutely nails it. Listen carefully. Watch this. Pay very close attention. This is what you miss if you're not following X or what we used to call Twitter.
This straight. Luigi Mangione is born into a wealthy family, attends a $40,000 a year private school, becomes valedictorian, earns a bachelor's and master's in computer science by 26, no criminal record, no psychological red flags, well-dressed, photogenic and handsome, active on social media showing vacations abroad with beautiful women and family, looks beyond well-adjusted and is thriving, landing an internship and building a resume that screams total success, spends his free time exploring transcendence and the self, whilst working the professional world showing no signs of instability, has all the hype of another rising tech star in his field, then all of a sudden disappears from his friends and his families for 3 months, only to return to kill the UnitedHealthcare CEO. None of this is adding up because in reality, we actually have an assembly line system to procure new so-called radical right-wing extremists simply by choosing whose brain to fry via psychedelic alchemical dumping at the drop of a hat. And has the same feel of Ted Kaczynski, who was MK Ultra brain fried as a psychological operated fed to distract us from what is truly happening on center stage today. From the fact that Syria is being converted to Israel while simultaneously painting an unglamorous depiction of the so-called woke right. But this is the strategy to kill two birds with one stone. Destroy the life of an introspective and upright man to demonize masculinity, whilst distracting us from geopolitical affairs that will determine the global enslavement of all of our progeny. This is a satanic pedophilic elite playing the American people once again.
Okay, well, you had me there until you did the satanic, the pedophilic. I was like, wait, we're not into that. You had me there. You were going there. There's a lot that's wrong with that. There's a lot that he jumps to, but it makes you think. And one of the things we're going to figure out, I hope one day, is we're going to figure out that we are and have been too enslaved by this thing of drugs. Drugs. You understand this? Now there's something, I like this. I like the fact that we're even talking about it. I like the fact that we're even discussing it. I like the fact that we're even, how do I say this? We're talking about this. Isn't it interesting? Doesn't it make you think like, wow, yes, Doesn't this make you say, yeah, I like this? Because what I like is the way that for the first time in a long time, we're discussing things that we've never been able to talk about before. You understand? And we're asking questions. Now, one thing he talks, which I don't particularly agree with, is the constant reference to the distraction. Everything is a distraction. We're distracting. Okay, well, maybe yes, maybe not. I don't know if it's everything is a distraction. I know that in our particular group, you love distractions. You love the notion of distraction, and you love the idea of this this idea that it's always, oh, what's the word? That it's always it comes about in this kind of a diversion type of thing. But I want you to listen. The fact is, people are talking about this. And I find it interesting. And he and others are at least opening up people to historical references of such. Now, I want you to listen to this. Megyn Kelly, who for the longest time has been somebody who, and you know it as well, Megyn Kelly has never been front line, top of line, anything. Megyn Kelly has not been up there with us. Do you know what I'm saying? She's been good. She's been good, but she's not us. Do you know what I mean? She's not as deep as we want to go. She's not like Alex Jones deep, who, by the way, one day, this man will absolutely, positively, and I say to you, he will be vindicated, and he will enjoy a resurgence, the likes of which you never knew possible. And there's so much out there. Remember, I'm telling you this. Remember, because they are, and I think our friend Mr. Musk is doing a lot. So anyway, let's watch this. Listen carefully to Megyn Kelly as she broaches the subject of this topic that we've talked about for years, referred to as fluoride.
Talk about fluoride, because
yes,
I have been into Maha before it had its name, and spoke with Casey Means, who's here later, and many others. And I've known that there is an issue, a potential issue, or at least a debate about fluoride in the drinking water, and that it's considered toxic, a neurotoxin. I've heard RFKJ say that as well. And people I really like laugh at that out loud. Like, that's an insane position. And this is one of the things that leads them to say he's a kook. So what of fluoride in the drinking water?
Yeah, so the purpose of my piece is really to argue, and I'll come to fluoride, is really to argue that you can't be a kook if there are many European nations already doing the policy that you suggest. So I treat RFK like I treat anybody. Let's not look at him as a person. Let's look at his ideas and go idea by idea. RFK Jr., like a lot of people, might have a bunch of ideas that are really good and promising, and maybe a few ideas that are debatable and a few ideas that are bad, but we should be able to take the good from what he's saying and, question him on the other things. So let's take fluoride in the water. The first litmus test. Do other nations take the fluoride out of the water? There are many nations, including Germany and other European nations, that do not put fluoride in the water. So there is no global consensus that you should put fluoride in the water. There's some other pieces about fluoride that are interesting to me. One, when we originally put fluoride in the water, there were lots of cavities and caries among children. And the idea of putting fluoride in the water is that pregnant women drink water, they'll take up fluoride, their babies will be born with stronger enamel, and they'll be less likely to get cavities. What we have seen over the course of the last 40, 50, 60, 70 years is there is a reduction in childhood cavities in nations that have added fluoride to the water and in nations that haven't added fluoride to the water. The most recent Cochrane review, which is a prestigious evidence-based association guidance on this topic, says we don't know for sure what the absolute benefit is of fluoride in drinking water on children's cavities. We also know that by putting fluoride in the water, there are lots and lots of people who are exposed to it who may not be the beneficiaries of the reduction in cavities. The other difference, we use a lot more fluoride-containing toothpaste now than we used to. And so that's a way in which cavities are getting better, and fluoride is getting to teeth anyway. Now, in terms of the questions about does it affect cognition and IQ, that's a very tough, obviously a tough question to tackle. I think Robert F. Kennedy is correct that at very high doses, fluoride is a neurotoxin. At the doses people get exposed to, does it have an impact on cognition? I've looked through a bunch of studies. My team is going to do a review of this. I'm not sure yet. But I think the point is, if Robert F. Kennedy comes in and he says municipal water plants should be discouraged from putting in fluoride, we all know what's going to happen, Megan. The same thing that happened when Trump said we should reopen schools. All of the red districts will take the fluoride out of the water, and all of the liberal districts will probably put more fluoride in the water. You know, they might even add a little fluoride to the water. Yeah, don't do that. And so I think that you'll get a very split view. But people who want to fearmonger and say RFK Jr. is going to come in and take the fluoride out of your water, I think that's not what's going to happen. And I also think there's a legitimate debate here. There's a reason why some countries are not putting it in, and we should have that debate and not call him a kook for bringing up the topic.
Totally agree. You point out in your piece that while, yes, at high levels, it's disturbing, it's potentially disturbing, you're right, other researchers found that even fluoride levels within the legal range were associated with that risk of, it being a neurotoxin. And one study of American mothers found that pregnant women who drank fluoridated water were more likely to give birth to children with lower IQs. This is probably why they banned it, or they don't use it in Germany, Norway, and Sweden. I think this is a very good caution. It's for people to look into, and I'm sure RFKJ is not going to go in there with a magic wand and start doing this stuff. He's going to have doctors who he trusts, unlike those who he thinks are captured, actually take a look at it honestly for the first time. So yes, we like it.
Now, remember one thing. When you do this, when you talk about anything, whether it's radiation, mercury in fillings, anything, MK Ultra, mind control, you will be absolutely deluged with a group of people who will say things apodictically. Better that they say it than not say it. People will say things about, you just wait. The good news is that in our group, what we're doing right now, you will find people who will come forward and will say things which might be absolutely ridiculous. But if we were to go to, let's say, the Fox News, let's say live stream or whatever, they don't know what you're talking about. They've never heard of the MK Ultra. What? So this is what's so great about us. We know topics. Now, Grant, sometimes some of us are a little bit overzealous. People will say they know things. MK Ultra is still very difficult to figure out. There's not a lot on it. We know it's been declassified. We kind of know what it is. We also know that people like Ted Kaczynski, Whitey Bulger, others have been the subjects of experimentation. Whether they have been programmed, we don't know. But since the beginning of time, since music or since movies, there has been this love affair with the notion, with the idea of the Manchurian candidate, a targeted individual who can be made to do things they don't necessarily want to do. Johnny Maz, the spaz, who himself has been the subject of a lot of psychotropic and psychogenic experimentation at the hand of the CIA. And I kid, of course, as the CIA used Ted Kaczynski in 1962 as a test subject for MK Ultra when he was at Harvard. That's a fact. That's what we are saying. That's what was just said. If you notice what this young man said, there were also, he wanted a sex change or whatever. That's what we are saying. That's what we are saying. Now, Johnny Maz, let me ask you something. What about the number of people that are given MK or who are part of this where nothing ever happens? What about that? What about people that are given high doses of hallucinogenics? I remember there was somebody one fellow jumped out of a window, and others. Now they're going to be saying spondylolisthesis. But let me go back to what I'm saying. They're setting up this. They're setting up this defense. Spondylolisthesis. This is where the vertebrae of the spine slips out. They're now starting to say, and he has the money and his family has the money to put this absolute overwhelming review, this deluge of information out as to how debilitating and crazy this can make you. Watch this. They had this poor, I shouldn't say it's poor, but this Pennsylvania lawyer who represented, poor guy's suit didn't fit. I mean, it just, and they're asking him questions. He says, well, I don't know if you should do this, but let me tell you what he's doing. You know, and I know, and it has been declassified that your government has indeed been involved in tampering with people, and we've always wanted to do this. The government's done this. How effective, how much, we don't know. But it's absolutely there. That's number one. Number two, fluoride. Can you tell me, ladies and gentlemen, one thing your government cares about as to you? Can you tell me one thing? Your government doesn't care about you, your health, nothing. It sprays. We will find out one day that 5G towers are, we don't know. You know, my favorite story would be, and I'm not in some kind of a science fiction guy, call me crazy, but you know what I would do? But as I was saying, they don't care about us at all, but their teeth, by God, their teeth, we got to get the enamel, and okay, fine. They care so much about this. They don't care about us, but our teeth. Oh, if you can't read the bullshit in that, I don't know what I can't help you with. Here's my story. This is completely nuts. Tell me if you think this makes any sense. In my crazy sci-fi world, I have this mandatory thing that people have to take. Either a vaccine or something they eat or something that they consume or something that gets into them. And by virtue of this additive thing, this vaccine, this additive, this drug, something in the water, I change the metallic and the chemical components of the body. And I make it, in essence, almost metallic. And I make us almost like a walking conductor, specifically parts that attack or that deal with the brain, the functionality, etc., etc. And then I go up and I turn on my Wi-Fi, my 5G, my towers, and and depending upon who gets what, and depending upon the frequency that I send, I can make you, in essence, be a transistor or some type of an antenna. And I could maybe, I don't know, make some people crazy, depopulate others. I don't know. Does that sound crazy? That sound nuts to you? Does that sound crazy? It sounds nuts. There's no way anybody can tell me that we are being immersed, bathed in a world of 5G, Wi-Fi. Remember when 5G went up overnight? There was this thing. There was like, what are these things? Remember they had those poles that had the leaves. They had, it looks like branches. And we thought, oh, look, this vine system has apparently grown. And no, it's not. Those are fake branches from these towers. These are 5G towers. And then there was this thing, they call it a conspiracy theory. They said right around the time of every major, and they've disproved this, but every major virus from Spanish influenza to bird flu, there was always a change somehow in radio waves when it went from radio in 1918 And then later on, 1G, the first generation, and there was Bird. Remember this? I go, that's crazy. But it seemed, when I first heard this, I thought, this is kind of interesting in a very strange way. Crypto Domini says, now we're talking. Who's listening? Thank you so much. Now, let me also say that there's so much other fantastic stuff. Have you been watching to what's happening in Syria? Anybody? Have you seen the stuff? Have you seen people dragged from cars? And are you watching this on YouTube? Are you seeing this? Or no, on X, on Twitter? Crypto says, I've never received my 5G, still roaming. There you go. But it's already there. It's out there. Those things you see, the towers, we are immersed in such. We are awash in such. Now, here is the thing. A couple of years ago, you would have been nowhere even remotely close to being able to say anything about this because they would have shut you down, shut you off, and pushed you away. Now we're able to see it. Megyn Kelly and others and Joe Rogan are asking the questions that we have been asking forever. Do you hear what I am saying? Do you hear what I'm saying? We're talking now about things. Next, the story which is the most important that nobody's discussing. In New Jersey, our sister state, the Garden State, there are automobile-sized drones flying around and nobody can say anything or answer the question. Can you tell me why that is? Can you tell me why that is? Can you tell me why this is? No. The FBI, they're actually saying, we don't know what this is. You mean you don't know? We don't know. The Air Force doesn't know. You've got things flying around the size of cars and you don't know. And what they're doing is they are acclimating and habituating you to yet another example of people saying, we don't know anything about this. We don't know anything about this. Thank you, Faye. Love being on with Sean Atwood today. It was beautiful and beauteous. There's no doubt about that. Do you hear what is going on right now? We are going to be so vindicated. And one day we're going to be able to talk about 9/11. And then you're going to freak out, my friends. Then you're going to say, wow, not that we know who does what, but the information that was there that we never questioned, that we never asked about. Isn't that something? Now, I want to say something to you right now. Dear friends, this is important. This is critical. Number one, there is a brand new deal from our friends at Prepare with Lionel. You understand this? It's not their, let me change this. It's not their Black Friday deal. It's their Christmas deal. Shop their Christmas. I'm going to change this. Their Christmas deal. This is incredible. I was looking at this. I'm saying, is this still up there? This deal of deals? And yes, the answer is yes, it is. So here it is, my friend. There it is. Ta-da! Shop their Christmas deal going on now. 4-week emergency food supply for a price that will blow your mind. It is absolutely the cheapest I've ever seen. I don't want to say maybe they've made a mistake or maybe they have been affected by some type of I don't know what you want to call it. Maybe some kind of fluoridation. But I'm telling you right now is the time. Preparewithlionel.com for emergency food, but things you've never thought. Biomass, chargers, matches, 100-hour candles. And also, remember, with 15 days to Christmas, you've got mypillow.com, promo code Lionel. My friends, I want you to do me a favor and do them a favor and make sure you go and you write and you go immediately and you sign up and you buy everything that they have at mypillow.com, promo code Lionel, and preparewithlionel.com. Now, one more thing, you probably missed this. Did you see today? And this was touching. They unveiled the painting or the official portrait of John Kerry, Senator John Kerry, great environmentalist, great climatologist, great friend of freedom. Did you see this? This is glorious. Watch this, ladies and gentlemen. What an honor. He's done so much for this country. There he is, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, a tremendous likeness. Isn't that something? And so well. These guys are, some of the meme teams are so good. I can't even put into words how deliciously great they are. Do you understand what is happening right now? I think you do. We are for the first time able to discuss what's happening. And this guy right now, I promise you, Luigi Mangione, they're just looking at it like, well, here's his manifesto. Okay. Yeah. They don't think beyond anything. Wait until you see the attempt on the family. They got a lot of money and they are going to be talking about PR. We saw today the Daily Mail. You're going to see this spondylolisthesis. You're going to be hearing about this and how it makes you crazy. And he hasn't been the same after the surgery, but he wasn't the same after he went away and became involved in all this LSD kind of stuff. And let me also tell you something, my friends. And I know you don't want to listen to me, and I don't want to sound like Reefer Madness and all these guys have done that. And I remember as a kid, I'm saying, I never listened to these people. And I think drugs should be legal. I think you should really be able to do anything you want. But let me tell you something. If you think that somehow you're safely going to be able to go into the netherworld with hallucinogenics or whatever, and sometimes they're fantastic, if they work well, you are playing with fire. I would say don't even get near it. Don't even get near it. When you're younger, when you're more adventurous, when you don't really know that many people who have really seriously started to lose their fastball, so to speak, you get to the point where you say to yourself, you know what? I think maybe I should do nothing that affects my ability to remember names, to remember games, to remember jokes, to remember things. And I just, that ability to, you realize how precious memory is and cerebral facility. White Monkey says, what stands out is all the talk about ghost guns. Well, you know what the reason for that, Mr. Monkey, is because it's a new term. And they'll say, what is a ghost gun? What are 3D printers? Because it's something new. Because they have nothing to say. Now, we've known about this for the longest time. 3D printers and this. Is it illegal? Well, why isn't it illegal? Why would it be illegal? Is it a firearm? A lot of things could be a firearm. I could take a wrench. I could put a round in it and hit the end of it on the end of a nail. Of course, it's pretty unsafe. There's no barrel, but is that a firearm? Is that an instrument that is designed to expel a projectile by explosion? I don't know. Listen to me. Open your mind. Open your mind to everything you and I have talked about since the beginning of time. MK Ultra. We went back to everything from all of the operations, Operation Paperclip and Mockingbird and Ajax and everyone that we've heard of. We become familiar with the CIA, with what the CIA has been, and the genesis of such. understand how sometimes there are people in government, maybe extraneous groups, who want to just send somebody out to see what happens. Let's just see what happens. Let's make somebody crazy. Let's see if we can turn somebody on or off, and let's see if we can program behavior. Why? Because some sick bastard is some lab since the beginning of time. Remember the notion of MK Ultra, the doctor, the first doctor. This was Sidney Gottlieb. This was a CIA chemist in the 50s. Remember this, Sidney Gottlieb. All of this is here. And you know what I found out, my dear friends? The number of people that I know who never look up anything blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind. How this happens, I have no earthly idea. I'll use a word. Somebody says, what does that word mean? And I say, well, why don't you look it up? No, I don't. I don't do that. I don't look the word up. What do you mean you don't look the word up? No, I don't really look it up. Tell me what it means. No, why don't you look it up? No, really, seriously. Just tell me. Well, did you look up what the Magna Carta is? No, I never really did. Why? I don't know. Because I'm an American. I'm an American and I don't do these things. I don't look things up. I don't look up words. I don't know what you're talking about. It's not this thing that I do. It seriously, it blows my mind. And when you ask people, well, what is fluoride? I don't know. And many of some of our friends here do the same thing. They wait for somebody to give you the information only at some time later on. And what I've told you from the beginning, what I want you to do is always be an autodidact, a self-taught person. I want you to be one of these people that absolutely, positively goes berserk, wanting to find out specifically what things are, how things are made. From the longest I can remember, and Mrs. L is the same way. When we were kids, we lived, I guess, during a time, maybe it was a different time. I don't know why, but we would sometimes enjoy just sitting down for no particular reason, sitting down at home, maybe getting the World Book Encyclopedia and just opening it up and just looking. Just looking to see some subject we never thought about. I remember one time being so intrigued by, of all things, Tunisia. I love the flag and Habib Bourguiba and how I just remembered that. I thought it was so interesting. And nobody ever made me think this. I just sort of wanted to do this. I just wanted to be this way. And I couldn't help it. And I didn't want to help it. Crypto says 2 counties in Jersey during the Manhattan Project, because the cows and horses were affected, the farmers tried suing the government, and the government needed fluoride for the atom bombs. I did not know that. I'm going to review that. Thank you. DuPont is Jersey. Well, there you know, and there you have it. White says, what stand out? Oh, yes, you did. Sorry, you didn't know that. Yes. Isn't that interesting? But you see, when you talk to friends of yours, they're going to say, well, there's that Janice again. There's that Belinda. Now, Belinda says the assassin was AMK. Belinda, how do you know that? Now, remember, if you say something, they're going to ask you, how do you know that? And Belinda says it's totally possible. It's called hypnotizing people and then brainwashing people. It is true. Well, brainwashing has been, remember in the old days, that's It's called menticide. Menticide. It's been around since, remember the Pueblo and the North Koreans were into this. But when you say this, you have to ask this question. Do not say to yourself, it's true. Say it could be. Or I like to say, I couldn't, it wouldn't, how do I say this? I wouldn't be surprised if. Here's something from NPR, and I just put in the thing regarding Sidney Gottlieb. It's a very simple thing, and I'll just give you a link right there. There it is. Ta-da! I just looked it up. There we go. Sometimes I hit the button and it's the damnedest thing. What do we know about Mr. Gottlieb? What do we know about this? Well, it's fascinating. CIA chemist Sidney Gottlieb. He headed up the agency's secret MK Ultra program, which was charged with developing a mind control drug that could be weaponized against enemies. This is from NPR. This isn't some, well, they are wacky, but they pretty much said, yeah, that's pretty much it. During the early period of the Cold War, the CIA became convinced that communists had discovered a drug or a technique that would allow them to control human minds. In response, our CIA began its own secret program called MK Ultra to search for a mind control drug that could be weaponized against enemies. Now, MK Ultra, which operated from the 1950s until the early 60s, was created and run by a chemist named Sidney Gottlieb. Journalist Stephen Kinzer, who spent several years investigating the program, calls the operation, quote, the most sustained search in history for techniques of mind control. Some of Gottlieb's experiments were covertly funded at universities and research centers, while others were conducted in American prisons and in detention centers in Japan, Germany, and the Philippines. Many of those, or the unwitting subjects, endured psychological torture ranging from electroshock to high doses of LSD. Kinzer says Gottlieb wanted to create a way to seize control of people's minds, and he realized it was a two-part process. First, you had to blast away the existing mind. Second, you had to find a way to insert a new mind into that resulting void. We didn't get too far on number 2, but he did a lot of work on number 1. And they noted that the top secret nature of Gottlieb's work makes it impossible to measure the human cost of the experiments. He said, we don't know how many people died, but a number did, and many lives were permanently destroyed. Ultimately, Gottlieb concluded that mind control was not possible. You believe that? After MK Ultra shut down, he went on to lead a CIA program that created poisons and high-tech gadgets for spies to use. It sounds crazy? As part of the search for drugs that would allow people to control the human mind, this is according to that piece I just cited you, CIA scientists became aware of the existence of LSD, and this became an obsession for the early directors of MK Ultra. Actually, the MK Ultra director, Sidney Gottlieb, can now be known as the man who brought LSD to America. He was the unwitting godfather of the entire LSD counterculture. In the early 1950s, he arranged for the CIA to pay $240,000. This is in the 50s, to buy the world's entire supply of LSD. He brought this to the United States, and he began spreading it around to hospitals, clinics, prisons, and other institutions, asking them through bogus foundations to carry out research projects and find out what LSD was, how people reacted to it, and how it might be able to be used as a tool for mind control. And now the people who volunteered for these experiments and began taking LSD, in many cases, found it very pleasurable. They told their friends about it. Who are these people? Well, Ken Kesey, author of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, got his LSD in an experiment sponsored by the CIA, by MKUltra, by Sidney Gottlieb. So did Robert Hunter, the lyricist of the Grateful Dead, which went on to become a great purveyor of LSD culture. Allen Ginsberg, the poet, who preached the value of the great personal adventure of using LSD, got his LSD from Sidney Gottlieb. Although, of course, he never knew that name. So the CIA bought LSD, brought it to the U.S. unwittingly. And actually, it's a tremendous irony that the drug that the CIA hoped would be its key to controlling humanity actually wound up fueling a generational rebellion that was dedicated to destroying everything that the CIA held dear and defended. Are you finding this interesting? Are you finding this? Just let me know. I find it fascinating. Would you like to hear more? Of course you would. Let Uncle Lenny tell you some stories. Listen to this one. Whitey Bulger was one of the prisoners who volunteered for what he was told was an experiment aimed at finding a cure for schizophrenia. As part of his experiment, he was given LSD every day for more than a year. He later realized that this had nothing to do with schizophrenia, and he was a guinea pig in a government experiment aimed at seeing what people's long-term reactions to LSD was. Essentially, could we make a person lose his mind by feeding him LSD every day over such a long period? Bulger wrote afterwards about his experiences, which he described as quite horrific. He thought he was going insane. He wrote, "I was in a prison for committing a crime, but they committed a greater crime on me." And towards the end of his life, Bulger came to realize the truth of what had happened to him. And he told friends that he was going to find that doctor in Atlanta, who was the head of the experiment program in the penitentiary, and kill him. It's fascinating. It goes on and on and on. It's all right there, dear friends. It's all right there. By the way, at the end of Gottlieb's career in 1973, when his patron Richard Helms, who was then director of the CIA, was removed by Nixon, once Helms was gone, it was just a matter of time until Gottlieb would be gone. And most important was that Helms was really the only person at the CIA who had an idea of what Gottlieb had been doing. So we'll never know the level of experimentation. Did you find that fascinating? I think it was fascinating. I want to know more about this. I want to know more. I don't want you to go out into the world. I don't want you to understand. Crypto says, Uncle, we can hang out like this more often, opening the books. Indeed. But I want you to think about this. And I want you to be always suspicious. Always ask. Always say, they did this once. And the people who did it there, they're not going anywhere. They're not going away. They're not going away. It's who they are. It's what they're all about, my friends. It's what they're all about. That mentality. They hate you. You mean nothing to them. Do you understand what I'm saying? This government, that they don't care about you. So if there's anything wrong with fluoride or 5G or Wi-Fi or geoengineering or solar radiation management or carbon dioxide removal or strontium barium or whatever it is, they don't care. They don't care because they know that the people like us who bring it up are called crazy. You understand what I'm saying? Once on LSD, I swear I smelled the color I was hearing. That's called synesthesis. And synesthesis is this unique ability to observe things, but differently. You hear colors, you feel sound, you Do you know that a wave is a wave is a wave? So if I take one particular wave, I can take a speaker, right? Turn it, change the amplitude, take the frequency. It's just a wave. And it may be a sound wave. If I turn it again, it might be heat. So I can turn a speaker into a heater by affecting the wave. A wave is a wave is a wave is a wave. It's just different. Do you understand what's going on? Do you understand what's going on? We should go out in the world, my friends, and ask questions. Linda Hazlitt says, my head is about to explode. Love the fascinating information. Oh, yes. Let me tell you something. Synesthesia. This is interesting. Synesthesia is a neurological condition that causes the senses to cross over so that the stimulation of one sense leads to an involuntary experience in another. Seeing colors when hearing music, tasting of food and feeling its shape, seeing colors when feeling emotions, and reading words with accompanying voices. The word synesthesia comes from the Greek word synth, meaning together, and esthesia, or perception. It's not a disease or disorder, and it doesn't indicate mental illness. It's usually present at birth. It's estimated to affect 2 to 4% of the population, which is the most fascinating thing in the world. Do you know this one, my friend? This is one of the most interesting thing in the world. One of my favorites when I was in university, there's this thing called perception and awareness. And I loved it so much. Perception and awareness. And what was it? Well, it was the ability to perceive something and to be aware of it, are like two different kind of things. And one of them was the moon illusion. It's one of my favorites. This is the phenomenon where the moon appears larger when it's low in the sky, even though it's actually the same size as when it's higher up, same radius. This illusion is caused by the way our brains process visual information. It's an illusion versus an hallucination. Notice I say not an hallucination, an historical. Hallucination is something that's not there, but a perception is. The atmosphere acts like a weak lens. It kind of bends some light. And the brain's vision system, the ventral stream of the brain's vision system, identifies the moon as a white object on the horizon and judges it to be large because it's far away. The dorsal stream then places the object in 3D space, making it seem even larger and closer. And the horizon move is perceived as being farther away than the moon higher in the sky, making it appear larger. And you can test it by taking photographs of the moon rising and the high in the sky and comparing them. It's wonderful. The Mueller-Lyer illusion. Those are lines, and I love this stuff. It's the most fantastic thing in the world. Christoph says DJT sending Guilfoyle out of the country. She sure is. She sure is. You understand this? Crypto says everything is a vibration. Sort of. Everything is. Everything is. The thing that I find interesting, every single thing that you think, everything that you've experienced, every pain, every love, every moment, every smell, every scent, every food, everything that you've ever noted, remembered, thought was just a little bit about your brain processing it. Johnny Maz the Spaz says propranolol, the best. Well, I am not into drug use. I think there was a time when that might have been okayer than today because it's too powerful. And the fact that the government is opening up marijuana places, so it gives you a license for you to ingest this super duper high THC stuff. If you don't see, if you don't try, if you honest to God, seriously, if you trust these people for what they've done, my God, these people, you've got to ask yourself, why, oh, why, oh, why would anybody even remotely trust the government to dispense this stuff? I don't know. I shan't know, dear friends. I shan't know. In any event, thank you for this. Did we have fun tonight? Johnny Maz and Crypto Domini and Linda Hazlitt, Crypto Domini, I said that. Thank you so very much, you wonderful, great, and glorious people. White Monkey, ladies and germs, thank you so much. It was fun tonight. It's wonderful tonight. I love this stuff. I love it. We are going to be vindicated. And everything that you and I thought were interesting, all the subjects that we thought were great, people now are going to say, yeah, let's talk more about it. We say, where have you been? I will never forget, my friend. I will never forget. I will take you to no other place other than Shanksville, Pennsylvania. We'll start with that. Right up there, it says, what is that? What was here? I don't know. Why do we say there were planes here? I don't know. What about New Baltimore and Indian Lake? That's where debris was. I don't know. Oh, propofol, you mean, the anesthesia. Propofol. Is that what you mean? You said, you wrote, propanolol. Maybe that's propofol. You mean milk of amnesia. Well, that's a wonderful thing. Look at this. Do people need to stay away from all the drugs? Sherry Swan said, well, what do you mean by a drug? Do people need to stay away? I believe if there was a way for us to have doctors come and say, okay, we're going to try something. I'm going to be standing by. We're going to try something. A mild dosage of some hallucinogen. I think that's could be absolutely beneficial, but I don't know on my own. I think theoretically there's a possibility. I think it makes sense, but I would need somebody who knows what they're doing. That's all. But I would love to see what my brain could be. It's like having a car and realizing you could go faster. It's more powerful. There's a governor. There's this limitation on it. Wouldn't you love to do that? Wouldn't you love to be able to do this? To pick up a pen or a device and say, you see this? There's a brain receptor on my brain. There's an implant. And if I push it like this, I can get all the high I want from any drug you want. This is cocaine. This one is heroin. And I go like that and I feel it and then I turn it off and I'm back to normal again. That would be great. Vegas was an attack. Ladies and gentlemen, don't ever accuse Lori Cuck of being slow in the uptake. Sure, nobody's talking about it now. Sure, she might say, and Pearl Harbor and the Maine. Remember the Maine, my ass. Havana Harbor. That was a false flag. Thank you, Lori. She does that. You don't know when she's going to pop up or out of where she's going to be. You don't know what she's going to do. She'll just say, it's true. Gleiwitz, Hitler, bullshit. The radio station. That's our Lori. Crypto says, reckon the greatest composers had wonderful senses. Maybe. Or they could have been the most wonderful purveyors of it. They know the mechanics of writing the songs. That they're just very good at. They're good at listening. They know chord structure. They're musically gifted. You know, a lot of these people can. What people like even like Brian Wilson can write and Gershwin, they understand the mechanics and the mathematics of music. There are reasons why they use a sus4 over E minor 7 to go tonic this and that. They know what they're doing. In any event, my friend, please. Now remember, Darlene Bradley says, we have to stay away from most used drugs, statins, antidepressants. anxiolytics, benzos, narcotics, things like protonics, they are a trap. Well, with all due respect, my dear Darlene, statins have saved more lives than you can imagine because there is nothing that we know that handles unstable plaque better than statin. Period. And that's the stuff that kills you. Antidepressants, let me ask you something. Who here has had their lives saved by an antidepressant, whether it was Buspar, whether it was some type of, Prozac or something along those lines? Who has had their life given back to them by virtue of antidepressants? Who? Lori says, me. They have been absolute. Doesn't mean they're not overprescribed or incorrectly surprised, but for serotonin imbalances, absolutely. For unstable plaque, oh my God, it saved lives. That's the stuff that kills you. That's the stuff. Hard plaque is easy. That's like a Chernobyl. One time, who was it? Esselstyn showed this coronary artery that was, there was just this little tiny hole, and it was all concretized. He goes, this person lived forever because there's angiogenesis and they make little tendrils. This is the problem. It's the unstable plaque. It's the stuff along the wall that all of a sudden there's a bloodstream sloughs off the top of it and you get a thrombus like that. That's the stuff that kills you. Oh, no. We all say this, statins. They might be overprescribed, but they've saved lives. Sorry. Crypto says, I got a question for homework. Please and thank you. Hawkins used a laptop to compose before his deceased. How is the question we don't have any one of those instead of how is the question we don't have one of those instead of a Musk brain chip? Anyone? I don't know. I don't want to, by the way, thank you for that. I don't want to poo-poo a brain chip, but I don't know anything about it. I really don't know. I have always in my life, I have never, ever, ever sought or wanted to be a part of anything involving therapy. Not psychiatry, not psychology, not a social worker, not psychoanalysis, psychotherapy, nothing. Never, ever, ever. It's me. Okay? I don't want to do it. I have no interest. I've gotten close to it. I thought this just, I don't. Now, what does that mean? Nothing. Therapy has been a lifesaver for people. A lifesaver. It's been one of those things that for some people, it's the greatest thing ever. Spandex says, I recommend the Oxford English Dictionary, the one with the magnifying glass. Well, I like that. I liked actually dictionaries and going to it and looking because you see other words that you run into by happenstance. I want the brain chip for outside the brain. It maybe. I'm not going to poo-poo it. But let me explain something. I don't have any need for that. I don't want to go to therapy. I'm not going to say therapy doesn't work. I'm not going to say therapy is stupid because I don't like it. I have absolutely no need or interest whatsoever in religion, anything God related. I'm not going to say it doesn't help you. It could be the greatest thing in the world. Soothing, comforting, helpful. What am I? Because I don't like it? Because I don't use it? No, it's ridiculous. I hate when people do that. Everybody's got a different thing. Like your pen device. Indeed, that would be something. I would like that. Be very careful when you don't know. I don't know anything about psychotropics. Tom Cruise was on a little bit to something, but I don't think he's able to discuss psychiatric medications and the like. Susan Walters says, how about LSD influence combined with AI? How about that? That's even more fascinating. What happens, Susan, when one day you're able to create a reality in people that you want. Let me show you something. YouTube. I'm going to show you something. There was, oh, here we go. Yes, there was something called, was this it? There was a special about, let me see this for a minute. No, that's not it. There was a special I saw on Bellevue Psych Ward, which is so wonderful. It was, this is it. I think this is. Yeah, this is it. Yep. This is a portion of it. Oh, this is it. I'm going to show you this. After we're done, watch this. Watch the poor woman with the terrible glasses. This is the link right there. Watch this when we're done. Not now. Crypto says they have an earpiece translator YouTube commercials. Interesting. How many times have I told you about AI? You don't understand AI. AI is going to blow your. AI could destroy the world. AGI. Understand this fascinating world of mental illness. And the people who suffer from it are not brilliant people on another frequency. No. It is so sad. Read about this Dr. Sachs. I think it's S-A-C-K-S or it's not S-A-C-H-S. She's this brilliant lawyer, went to law school, who explains hallucinations. By the way, Bedlam comes from a psychiatric hospital called Bethlehem in the UK, and they called it through the Cockney interpretation, they called it Bedlam. I loved, was fascinated by when I was a psych major, going to this one hospital and just watching. It was fascinating. And there were some people who they say, what are we going to do? Sometimes the meds will help a little bit. Sometimes people will be off the walls. People got violent or crazy or harming, but it was so sad. I want Bluetooth AI instead of implant. Okay, well, by God, crypto, we're going to get you. The moment you start cutting into me, that's when I say, no, wait a minute. Let's talk about that. That's when I say, I don't know about that. Only because of the irreparable and the irreversible aspects of it. So remember something. Children, let us always start off with this. Remember, we know nothing. The more you know, the less you know. The more you know, the more you realize you don't know. I know a lot of words. I really do. And I know that I know nothing compared to how many words are out there. And the people who don't know words, people who don't, or none into vocabulary, because I've got vocabulary books behind me. It's just a hobby of mine. Always has been. I realize I can't remember them all. I know none of them. I know nothing. Crypto says, my brother's in a wheelchair. Believe me, therapy is real. Well, you mean physical therapy or mental therapy? Well, both. The more you know, the more you don't know. The more you know, the more you don't know. And the more you know about a subject, you realize I never knew I didn't know this. It's like the first time I went skydiving twice. Tandem once, and then AFF level 1 solo the second. I said, that's it. The second time I realized, oh, I see what goes wrong. I see what can go what can go wrong now. Now I understand. The tumble, the spin out of control. That's the thing. I didn't know that the first time. I didn't realize that. Crypto says this new AI is both. We will see, my friend. Faye Dalton says, my vocabulary needs to expand. It's the simplest thing. The words are free. The words are absolutely free. It's up to you. What's keeping you? There's 8 million programs. You can have it on your phone. You can have a word of the day. I get this word of the day all the time. I love. I also love medical terms for different thing, like dehiscence is a beautiful word. There's a wonderful thing too, which I love this. You know that there is this wonderful thing called when you get older, my friends. Have you noticed this? Because I think age is great. Do you ever get these things here? See those 2 lines right here? Do you ever get those when you get older? You remember? Do you ever get those? Anybody have one of these? You get these 2 things, and sometimes depending upon you can really see them. It's called platysmal dehiscence. It's the platysma. This line of muscle it loses part of the fascia, and it's part of this age thing, and people get it. I think it's fascinating. Platysmal dehiscence. You can go up to somebody and say, hey, I know what that is. Imagine the government funding this generation to expand all concepts and uses of AI. And I love the word of the day apps. Oh, yes, they're wonderful. Do you ever notice when you get older, you ever see you get people who you see this? First of all, this finger goes out. Do you ever see this one? I don't know why that is. This goes out, and then you'll get this. Sometimes this finger is like, what is that about? What the hell is that about? How about the waddle? You're right. The waddle. You walk like that? I don't want to do that. No way. No way. It's wonderful. Oh, SD Gold says, you shrink. Of course you shrink. You shrink because you're vertebrae. Like, well, of course you shrink. Now, turkey neck is different. Turkey neck is kind of like a loose skin or whatever. This is this 2-line thing here. This is a different story. It's a different, but the point is, once you recognize this with age, you realize, okay, have you ever looked at friends of yours, like from high school, and you think, oh my God, they look, and you always think you look better. Look at this. Laura Floyd says, I've noticed that too, right? The pinky thing. Oh, I notice all kinds of, notice how sometimes ears get bigger, ears and nose. Ears sometimes get huge on people. I don't know why. A nose, you get this rhinophyma. Sometimes it's a form of acne rosacea. You get this kind of like the big nose. It's really interesting. Sometimes older people will smell differently. I think it's fascinating. All of a sudden, people will say, what about all of a sudden you get eyebrow dandruff? What the hell is this about? There must be a reason. And then men, how about this? Ear hair, that Spanish moss in your ear. Leslie Watson, bless your heart, Leslie. Thank you so much. I find that. And ladies, oh my God. Ladies, anything that hangs is wonderful for gravity. Wonderful. Somebody said years ago that every woman should have a nude picture of themselves. Oh, maybe, I guess, if that means something to you. Maybe you'll feel bad. I don't know. But you watch this, you see things as like, oh my God. Crazy ear hair. Oh yeah. There's all these things you can do too, where you can put this, you can go to have this wax put in your ear and they pull it out if it means something to you. But this is wonderful. By the way, alcoholics, remember they call them gin blisters? It's also sometimes acne rosacea. Acne rosacea is sometimes confused. Rhinophyma is also part of the busted capillaries and Carl Malden. But gentlemen, how about scrotal pendulousness? There is something interesting when baby boys are born. They have later on they go through puberty, and you have the penile, different things will change. And there's also a darkening scrotal, kind of a darkening, like a pudendal darkening. And then boys will notice this thing called the testicles will descend. Sometimes they don't descend. Testicles are very interesting. the left testicle normally descends lower than the right. And if it's the opposite, it could mean one of two things. One, your heart is going the other way, or two, cancer. And most people don't know this. There is a kind of a whatever. And there are thermoreceptors. Of course, jump into a cold pool, you'll never see your testes again because they're just. But then, after you go from puberty, then nature says, you want to descend? We're not done yet. We're not done yet. Watch this. Spandex says, I evolved into my grandfather. Gravity sucks. Not really. You're supposed to look like this. This isn't a mistake. You look at age like it's a mistake. No, this is the way it goes. There's nothing wrong with this. Your head's a different story, but it doesn't matter. Look at Mick Jagger. He's 80 years old. Even people like, Keith Richards. He's 80. These people are. They didn't really take care of themselves, but you're lucky if you don't have some kind of a debilitating thing. There's just something about the part that you should worry about the most when you get older. It's not the physical, it's your mental. Being intolerant, not wanting new things, not wanting to learn new things or to try new things, becoming set in your ways. I hate that. And remember, there are people who are going to look at you and they're going to say, this guy's an old fart no matter what. That's the way it goes. I can't help that. That's Anyway, I like this. Knothead says, where did you learn all that? Are you kidding? It's there. You can learn anything you want. Bungee jumping cojones. C.O. Jones. Keith Richards rode a dinosaur to school. Isn't this fun? Crypto says, you inspire me, sir. I used to do home hospice. I want to build communities after these talks. Oh, hospice is that's interesting. That's a part of the transition. That's a wonderful, wonderful. Oh, Klinefelter syndrome, confession. Klinefelter and XX, Klinefelter's XYY, isn't it? XYY. Klinefelter, no, hang on, that's not it. That's Jacob's syndrome. Hang on. Klinefelter syndrome. Oh, this is occurs when a male is born with an extra X chromosome, resulting in 4D7. It can affect a person's physical language and blah, blah, blah. Another one, too, I like. Have you ever heard of Leishman? Remember, Leishman is a rare inherited disorder that affects the metabolism of purines. And it's really severe gout. I remember there was one, there's no treatment, but there was one, some animal, some infants that had self-mutilation. And wow, imagine giving a name. Here's one for you. You know what I want to be named after me? Not the Heimlich maneuver or Klinefelter's or Leishman or Korsakoff syndrome. I think that's Wernicke's. That's wet brain. I think Korsakoff's. This is encephalopathy. Or I want to be known for this. Maybe you'll notice it. Have you ever noticed when you were in mid-micturition, when you're urinating? Do you ever sometimes get this little chill that comes over you? Sometimes you see it, sometimes men at urinals, because you don't really see, women are installed, but you're in a urinal, all of a sudden say, it just comes over you. And it's like, okay. What do you think that is? What do you think that one is? If you know what I'm talking about. What do you think that one is? It's fascinating. How about this? Somebody said there was a comedian. I wish I thought of it. He wants to know the sound, the frequency of a hairdryer that sounds like the phone's ringing, but they don't have any really phones anymore. But he asked this. Katie said, it happens to me in the shower. One of the reasons why I think it's interesting is I think that whenever there's urination, you immediately lose whatever this body temperature was, 98.6 of fluid, you lose it. You chill, by the way, when you lose blood. So all of a sudden you had this in you and it's gone. So you kind of shake to kind of, your body recognizes the loss of temperature. That's all it is. That's what I think it is. Maybe, maybe not. I think that's fascinating. You know what I love also? Is everybody knows what deja vu is, right? The opposite of deja vu is called jamais vu. This is a familiar experience that feels new. Okay? The opposite of deja vu is when a familiar experience feels new. When does it happen and it takes place? I love it. Then there's presque vu, which is the intense feeling of being on the very brink of a powerful epiphany, insight, or revelation without actually achieving the revelation. That's almost like when you have a sneeze, when you're about to sneeze and you stop. One of the reasons why I think deja vu is, of course, a Dionne Warwick song, a part of the brain that allows you to feel memory, to feel, oh, I remember this. That part, oh, I remember this, like a reaction, is hit by maybe kind of a random little electrical this or that, because they have, during various portions of brain surgery, touched parts of the brain with electrodes and make sure people are still, especially when you got to make sure the motor skills are still working. They will touch person's brains and go, oh, I remember this. You go, no, you don't remember this. Oh, no, yes, I do. I remember this. No, I'm hitting a part of your brain with the electrode that is giving you a false sense of memory. That's what deja vu is. All right, enough of that. Now listen, do me a favor. Make sure you sign up for the newsletter or the quotidian quodlibet, which I have 2, 3, 4 times a day whenever I feel up to it. Check your spam because it may be there. Okay? All right. Have we had fun today? On a scale from 1 to 10, how much did you enjoy tonight's vision? I wasn't feeling up to it, doing an hour and 22 minutes. On a scale from 1 to 10, you loved it. Okay? You loved it. Joe Rogan doesn't do this. Joe Rogan doesn't do this. Joe Rogan can't do this. Just remember that. All right, dear friends, have a great and glorious day. See you tomorrow at 9 a.m. We're going to try something new. 9 a.m. I'm going to tell them, remember these words. The monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya.